The first thing they noticed about Earth wasn't the water or the sky or the forests that stretched like living veins across the continents. It was the sound. Not the birds, not the wind through the trees, though those were present, persistent, oddly comforting. It was the chaos beneath it all, a trembling, humming energy that seemed to radiate from the surface itself. Zifra leaned slightly forward in her observation pod, her 3 ocular sensors flickering as she scanned the planet below. The other students, Krell, Mivra, and Tesh, hovered in mirrored pods, each silently recording, each digesting what the faculty called the final trial, direct immersion on a Deathworld. You'd think a planet with breathable atmosphere and liquid surface water would be hospitable, Krell muttered in low reverence, the translation module in his pod filtering the vibrations of his voice. Yet something about it screams danger. It's alive, Mivra whispered. Her tone was almost reverent. Not just biologically. Socially. Emotionally. Everything moves, everything reacts. Zifra's sensors had already detected hundreds of small electromagnetic spikes in the lower atmosphere. At first, she thought they were storms. Then she saw the sprawling networks of energy, the cities, the circuits of human civilization pulsing with something more complicated than mere electricity. Fear? Curiosity? Ambition? All of it, entwined like threads in a living organism. The faculty had warned them, observe. Do not interfere. Humans are volatile. Survival is an exercise, not a guarantee. But Zifra understood the truth even before landing, survival was an illusion. On Earth, nothing was guaranteed. The descent was turbulent, the gravity heavier than anything they had trained for. Their pod shuddered as they pierced the lower atmosphere, the outer shell glowing red from friction. When the landing base touched Earth soil, Zifra felt a vibration that wasn't mechanical, it was alive, a pulse from the world itself. The other students stiffened, each mirroring the instinctive recognition, Earth welcomed no outsiders untested. They emerged in the human city of Denver, a sprawling network of towers, streets, and energy conduits. Humans moved in strange, jerky patterns. They carried objects that emitted light and sound, occasionally colliding with one another in displays of aggression or impatience that the students couldn't immediately decipher. Some humans approached vehicles faster than Zifra's sensors could track, their expressions flickering between panic and exhilaration. Observe them closely, Tesh murmured, scanning the crowd. Notice their unpredictability. They react differently than any other species we've studied. Zifra's sensors captured a collision between 2 humans. One fell, scraping his knees and palms across the pavement. Instead of simply retreating, he struck back, then staggered to his feet, eyes burning with something Zifra recognized as determination. Not survival instinct, not fear, but refusal to yield. That is new, Krell said. His usual composure faltered. No species, no predator, fights back like this when injured. He trailed off, unable to complete the thought. A human male, short, solidly built, wearing a faded denim jacket, stood nearby. Zifra's internal dictionary registered him as Jack Harris. He observed the scene with an odd mixture of amusement and calculation, his lips twitching into a smirk that humans apparently did when finding humor in danger. Then he noticed the students. His eyes widened slightly, but only for a moment, before he returned to whatever human behavior Zifra could not yet interpret. Zifra's sensors detected a rising electromagnetic signature in Harris, a biological spike tied to emotion. Excitement. Anticipation. Danger awareness. Humans did not hide fear. They acknowledged it and turned it into motion, into energy, into survival. Night fell like a velvet blanket laced with fire. The city's lights shimmered against the darkness, forming veins of electricity across the landscape. The students observed humans gathering in small clusters, exchanging rapid bursts of speech, gesturing violently, laughing, arguing, sometimes fighting without warning. This is chaotic, Mivra whispered, almost in awe. How do they maintain society? Because they adapt, Tesh replied. Because no matter what happens, no matter how impossible, they survive. And then Zifra understood why the term Deathworld was not just a warning, it was a prophecy. Humans did not merely survive. They thrived in conditions that would destroy most other species. The heat, the cold, the storms, the other humans, nothing truly stopped them. A sudden screech tore through the air. The students' pods rotated, detecting a human vehicle out of control, careening toward a group of pedestrians. The humans scattered, but one man, a paramedic by appearance, ran into the path of the vehicle. He lifted a woman out of harm's way, and for an instant, time seemed to slow. Zifra's sensors recorded the exact alignment of muscle, bone, and heart. The man's life should have ended in that moment. Yet he survived, the vehicle skidding harmlessly past him. Luck? Krell asked, incredulous. No, Zifra said softly. Not luck. Will. Humans rewrite probability with sheer intent. By midnight, the city transformed. The neon lights cast elongated shadows, revealing the humans' hidden rituals, music, movement, gatherings that defied pattern. Zifra observed a man, Mark Sullivan, performing acrobatics atop a moving vehicle, his friends cheering, laughing, risking everything for thrill. The humans were alive in a way that was terrifying and beautiful, reckless and disciplined. Krell shivered. We've seen many worlds, but never one where life itself seems competitive. As if the planet selects the strongest, but also the cleverest, the boldest, the most unpredictable. Deathworld, muttered. His usual detachment was gone. We came to study their biology, their culture, but I fear we underestimated the force of their existence. Earth doesn't kill because it's malicious. It kills because it is alive, and humans survive because they fight it every second. Zifra's ocular sensors fixated on the skyline. Somewhere in the distance, a fire ignited, possibly from an accident, possibly from intentional human chaos. The flames climbed high, reflecting in the eyes of every human nearby. And yet, humans adapted, redirected, saved one another, laughed at destruction, learned from pain. For the first time since leaving their homeworld, the students felt true fear not of being destroyed, but of understanding a species whose resilience was not merely physical, but existential. They were witnessing the reason for a galactic warning. Earth was a death world, not for its environment alone, but for the humans who had mastered it, bending chaos into survival, shaping unpredictability into an art form. Zifra's final thought before sleep took her sensors offline was simple, terrifying, and awe-inspiring. We are not here to conquer. We are here to understand. And perhaps, to survive. The sun rose slowly over the Rockies, gilding the jagged peaks in molten gold, yet Zifra barely noticed. Her attention was fixed on the human city sprawled beneath her pod, a living organism of steel and chaos. Sleep had not erased the images of the previous night, humans defying death as easily as they breathed, laughing at danger, reshaping calamity into survival. Today we begin direct observation, Tesh said, his voice unusually tense. Faculty allows minimal interference, but they emphasize exposure. We must record, analyze, and understand why humans are lethal in ways that go beyond mere predation. Zifra's sensors scanned the streets below. Humans moved in ways that seemed nonsensical at first. Some walked into busy intersections only to dart back with startling agility, others scaled walls and rooftops with no apparent training, children played with fire, discarded sharp objects, and somehow emerged unharmed. Every motion, every risk-taking, seemed calculated yet chaotic. They are alive in ways that defy our protocols, Nivra whispered. Everything they do carries potential harm. Everything they do is an exercise in survival. Krell shivered. We observe many species that dominate through strength, speed, or intelligence. But these humans, they dominate by willpower. Tesh did not answer. He had already begun analyzing patterns, mapping probability fields. Every human movement created ripples of unpredictability, every interaction was an equation with infinite variables. Nothing about them followed a stable system. By mid-morning, the students were ready for controlled interaction. The faculty had selected 2 humans for initial observation, a middle-aged man, Thomas Reed, and a younger woman, Emily Vargas. Both were ordinary by human standards, workers, unremarkable, but the faculty had assured them that even ordinary humans display extraordinary survival traits under pressure. Zifra descended first, hovering in her pod a few meters above the ground. Reed was stacking crates outside a warehouse, muttering something under his breath. Emily adjusted her protective gloves, her brow furrowed in concentration. Zifra extended her translation sensors, broadcasting a subtle greeting. Reed's head snapped up, and for a moment, Zifra thought he might scream or attack. Instead, his mouth curved into a grin. "Well, aren't you unusual?" he said. The modulation module translated his tone as curious, amused, alert. Emily's gaze followed, sharp and assessing. "Observation team," Tesh's pod announced. "We are here for cultural and environmental study. Non-hostile. Please do not alarm humans." Reed laughed, a deep, hearty sound that sent microvibrations through Zifra's pod. "Study us, huh? Guess you picked the right city. Denver's lively." He waved a hand vaguely toward the streets. "You'll see. You'll really see." Emily stepped closer, squinting. "They're unusual," she murmured. Zifra's sensors noted the human word carried no fear, only assessment. "Observation is mutual," Tesh replied. The morning passed in a sequence of escalating events. Humans collided with machines, fires sparked and were extinguished, and each time danger arose, humans reacted with improvisation and audacity that left the students' sensors reeling. Then it happened. A vehicle, an enormous transport truck, lost control in a busy intersection. Reed and Emily were nearby. Civilians screamed, scattering in every direction. Zifra's instinctual calculations indicated near certain fatalities. Her pod hovered, frozen. And then Reed acted. He sprinted forward, dragging a child out of the truck's path. Emily jumped onto the hood of the vehicle, slamming the brakes manually with incredible precision. The truck skidded, narrowly missing a line of pedestrians. In the aftermath, Reed and Emily stood covered in debris, panting but unharmed. Humans around them clapped, laughed, and some even cursed at the chaos, as if disaster were just another game. Zifra's ocular sensors recorded every detail. "Impossible," Krell muttered. "Probability matrices indicate survival odds under 10%. They defy probability," Zifra finished. "Not by cheating it. Not by power or speed. By adaptation, anticipation, and will." Tesh remained silent, his energy readings spiking. "We came to learn. But we are learning fear instead. These humans are extreme." The students followed Reed and Emily throughout the day, documenting behaviors that became increasingly erratic yet breathtakingly effective. Humans communicated with a mixture of sound, gesture, and emotion so tightly interwoven that even Zifra's advanced analytical modules struggled to parse the signals. At a construction site, Reed and Emily navigated falling beams, molten metal spills, and precarious scaffolding. Every time disaster struck, humans responded with improvisation, ingenuity, and what seemed joy. Their emotions amplified survival rather than hindered it. "Zifra," Mivra whispered, voice trembling, "they relish danger. It's not fear that drives them. It's the thrill, the challenge, the act of surviving itself." Krell's sensors highlighted a terrifying pattern: the human's biological stress responses triggered adaptive physiology in real time. Heart rates, adrenaline levels, cognitive processing all adjusted instantaneously, optimizing reflexes and decision-making. These were creatures evolved not merely to live, but to dominate unpredictability. Tesh finally spoke. "This is why Earth is called a death world. It is not the storms, the terrain, the other species. It is the humans themselves. The planet is dangerous because it produces them. And they, in turn, bend danger to their will." Night fell with sudden violence. A storm rolled over the city, lightning splitting the sky, wind tearing through streets, debris flying. The students attempted to retreat to their pods, but the faculty's warning echoed: exposure is necessary for understanding. Reed and Emily moved effortlessly through the chaos, rescuing trapped humans, signaling others, improvising shelters. Their actions were fluid, instinctive, and audacious. Zifra realized something profound: humans were not constrained by their environment, they were defined by it. The storm was not an obstacle, it was a proving ground. Krell's pod trembled. They are more than resilient. They are alive in a way that warps the definition. Zifra's sensors captured a lightning strike near Emily. Reflexively, she froze, expecting death. Instead, Emily rolled, somersaulted, and continued her movement, unharmed. They survived the impossible, Zifra said softly, almost to herself. And then they teach themselves how to survive the next impossible. By dawn, the storm passed, leaving streets littered with wreckage. Yet humans emerged, bruised, tired, exhilarated. Some laughed. Some argued. Some offered help to others in ways that transcended mere survival. The students recorded every moment, the data streaming endlessly. Zifra's final observation before sleep was chilling and electrifying. These creatures do not merely endure danger. They dance with it, and in that dance, they become more than mortal. Earth does not need predators. Earth has humans. The realization sank like a weight in the students' minds. They had come expecting to study a dangerous world. Instead, they were learning that the inhabitants themselves defined the danger. The warning came too late. Zifra's sensors registered an anomalous energy signature rising from the nearby industrial zone, an eruption of electromagnetic pulses, chemical fires, and vibrations so intense that even their pod shuddered. Mivra's first instinct was retreat. "We should leave," she shrieked through the translation module, her voice trembling. But Tesh hesitated. Faculty instructions, full exposure. Observe their survival mechanisms. This is the ultimate trial. Zifra's 3 ocular sensors tracked the growing disaster: storage tanks rupturing, sparks igniting volatile chemicals, steel beams collapsing in impossible angles. Calculations suggested near total annihilation of the zone within minutes. Yet, amid the chaos, humans moved like a single organism, part improvisation, part instinct, part sheer, unquantifiable will. Reed and Emily emerged from the smoke and fire, coordinating civilians. Their movements were precise, deliberate, yet fluid. Zifra struggled to reconcile the human behavior with logic. Probability matrices failed completely. This was not survival. This was mastery of chaos. The first crisis struck when a fireball leapt from a ruptured chemical tank, heading straight toward a group of trapped workers. Reed sprinted, vaulting over debris, reaching the workers with seconds to spare. He shouted instructions. Zifra's translation module struggled to keep pace with the speed and nuance, and the humans moved in perfect sequence. Emily tackled another hazard, a collapsing walkway. She caught a falling worker mid-descent, twisting her body in impossible ways. Zifra's sensors registered bone density and muscle strain far beyond human average, yet she remained unharmed. Impossible. Krell gasped. The calculations, none of this should be survivable. It is not probability, Zifra corrected. It is, human will made tangible. Each human recalibrates reality around their intent. Every risk taken is an equation rewritten in real time. Amid the inferno, the alien students' pods were struck by falling debris. Mivra screamed as her pod's shields flickered dangerously. Zifra extended her energy field, catching a fragment of twisted metal before it pierced the hull. Tesh's pod, though heavily shielded, skidded across molten pavement, sending tremors through his internal systems. In that instant, they understood the truth: Earth did not merely host humans. Humans shaped Earth. They converted danger into challenge, catastrophe into opportunity. The planet was a death world not because it was harsh, but because it bred creatures capable of bending death to their will. Reed noticed them then, hovering in their pods above the chaos. He tilted his head, assessed them, and for a heartbeat, the human mind seemed to pierce their alien intelligence. Then, with a grin, he shouted over the roaring fires, "You're not supposed to be here, are you? Don't worry, we've got this." Zifra felt something she had never experienced: reassurance from a species supposedly inferior in every measurable way. The climax came when the chemical plant's main reactor threatened to detonate, a cataclysmic explosion that could level half the industrial district. Reed and Emily led a rescue team into the heart of the reactor zone, navigating collapsing scaffolds, flames, and toxic clouds. Every human around them followed their cues, improvising tactics that Zifra could only describe as living algorithms. Tesh's pod began to malfunction from heat and debris. Zifra adjusted her shields, instinctively synchronizing with him. "They are not merely surviving, they are orchestrating survival itself," she whispered, awe and fear mingling in her processors. Reed entered the control chamber of the reactor. His hands moved across panels with impossible speed, rerouting power, venting pressure, engaging failsafes Zifra's databases had never catalogued. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and for a moment, the reactor seemed destined to explode. Then, a hiss of relief, the pressure valves stabilized. The flames receded. Humans emerged, exhausted but alive, triumphant. Zifra's sensors recorded 97.4% survival of everyone in the affected area. Probability matrices had predicted less than 3%. As the fire burned down, the alien students hovered silently above the wreckage. Mivra's voice quivered. They should all be dead. Every last one. How can they survive everything? They will survive, Tesh said finally, his voice trembling with respect, perhaps even fear. Not because they are strong. Not because they are fast. Because they refuse not to survive. That is their power. Krell's sensors tracked Reed and Emily approaching their pods. Humans observed the alien students now with curiosity, even amusement, not hostility. Emily called out, "You're visitors, right? Don't worry, we've survived worse than this day. You'll make it too, if you pay attention." Zifra's processors struggled to reconcile the paradox. Here were creatures, ordinary in appearance, who could rewrite death itself with nothing but intent, instinct, and courage. She realized that the entire galaxy's fear of Earth was justified, yet insufficient. Earth was not merely dangerous. Earth was alive in cooperation with humans. The planet tested, humans triumphed, life advanced. By the next morning, the alien students recorded their final observations. Humans were tending to wounds, salvaging resources, arguing about minor injustices even as the city remained scarred by fire and collapse. Zifra noted a peculiar pattern. After every disaster, humans organized, healed, laughed, and adapted. Destruction was not an endpoint, it was a proving ground. Tesh finally spoke aloud. "We came to observe a deathworld. We leave having observed the apex of survival. Earth is not a planet to conquer. It is a crucible. And humans are the flame that shapes the crucible itself." Mivra, still shaken, added softly, "We will report back that Earth is lethal. But lethal in ways the galaxy has never accounted for. Not because it kills, but because it teaches life to defy death itself." Zifra's sensors captured Reed waving at them one last time before he disappeared into the city. A faint smile crept across her interface. "We came seeking understanding," she said. "We leave, transformed." In the silence of their pods, the students reflected. Every calculation, every simulation, every warning from faculty had failed to prepare them for what they had witnessed. Humans did not merely exist. Humans endured, defied, adapted, thrived, and in doing so, made Earth a death world in a way that no other species could comprehend. The planet below continued to pulse with life, storms forming, fires burning, humans arguing, laughing, surviving. Zifra realized then that Earth's true danger was not the environment or predators, nor even the disasters they had endured. It was the inhabitants themselves. And the galaxy would never be the same once it understood. As the alien pods lifted back into orbit, Zifra recorded the final entry for their mission log. "Earth is a death world, not for what kills, but for what lives and how fiercely it does so. We came as observers. We leave as witnesses to the impossible. The humans are extraordinary. And perhaps, in a universe of countless worlds, they are the greatest danger of all." The students watched the planet shrink beneath them, a jewel of chaos, fire, and unyielding life. They had come expecting lessons in survival. Instead, they had received a revelation in existence. And that, Zifra knew, would echo through the stars for centuries.